What's up, everybody? It's Rob Moon from Compost Universe. We're back with another episode of The Verse. We got Joel behind the camera, we got Luke behind the camera, and our special guest with us, Oceanside. Introduce yourselves, guys.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Vinny. I play drums and sing backups.
And I'm James. I'm the guitar player and vocalist for Oceanside.
Tell me a little bit about Oceanside. What are you guys all about?
Oceanside started as a recovery project to try to help people who are struggling with addiction get out of that lifestyle. And it was a vision started by people in recovery. And we spearheaded it into what it is today.
Awesome.
I came late to the party, so for me, it's all about rocking out responsibly.
Sweet.
As best as I can.
Recovery, that's a pretty strong word. What does that mean? What's that all about?
Honestly, Vinny has a great line about that. You want to hit him with it?
So it kind of started off as a joke at practice, but I always said recovery is a verb. Every time we would go out or something, I'd be like, yeah, well, I'm going to get drunk as fuck tonight. And then James, he'd have like and because I knew they'd been in this, so I knew I didn't have the story that they had. Theirs way further in depth, him and Lily. Mine, I didn't go to a rehab center or nothing. I kind of like always fought for control on my own, which has been a very up and down battle.
Sure.
So my joke was always, dude, recovery is a verb. You know what I mean? And
he would say it as a joke, and I'd say no, but it's really powerful because it means recovery is a verb, as in recovery is something you have to like work towards,
something you have to do.
Yeah, it's not something. I'm in recovery, you know what I mean?
I like that.
I'm still going back and doing all the old habits I had and everything like that. So he used to say it as a joke into it. I'm like, no, that's actually pretty powerful because if you think about it, it takes action. Recovery is a verb. It means it takes work. You know,
and I don't think anyone's ever done. It's like, oh yeah, recovery is over.
Yeah,
I think it's every day for the rest of your life.
I mean, we're all a work in progress and whatever we're dealing with, right? Vinny, you said you didn't really have the story that James did. So what is the story, James?
So I was definitely addicted for a larger portion of my teenage years, going into my early 20s, and I went to a place called Dynamite Youth Center, which has a location in Brooklyn, New York, and it has one in upstate Fallsburg, New York. And it's like a therapeutic community, like an inpatient rehab. But this was like no rehab that anyone's ever told me about. I mean, I went in the first day and they had a band playing at the rehab, and I'm watching. I'm just stepping my toes into recovery, and I'm watching these people that are like me trying to get their lives together. And I'm watching them and I'm like, what is this place? Like there was something in the water there because it had so many musicians, and staff that cared about like getting people clean, you know? So it's a program based on helping adolescents. So I think it's like 15 to 26-year-olds.
Okay.
And taking them out of that lifestyle of addiction and trying to help them recover. But Oceanside started as a project while I was in Dynamite Youth Center. So I was recording the EPs and the songs while I was in the program. So much we even had a staff member who recorded the drums to the original EP releases.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, because what he was doing is he was getting the equipment while I was a member of the program, and I was recording people while I was in the program and mixing without any knowledge of anything. So if you go back and you listen to the EPs and stuff, it does not sound how they should. But I also was working off of no knowledge. It's the first time ever stepping into that.
Would you say that music has been something of an anti-drug for you? Do you think getting involved in music helped you with your recovery?
I think part of it, yes. I think the thing I advise, like anyone watching this, or I always advise to get into a hobby. So there's multiple hobbies I had before I became addicted that once I got clean, I was able to cultivate more and probably kept me more on the straight and narrow. You know what I mean? Because for people who are just starting in the recovery journey, I mean, it's not, if you don't have anything to do that's fun, and you only got your fun from getting high, like what do you have in your life that can replace that? So yeah, you could probably argue that music was something alongside, but I remember it being like I was 6 months clean, and I remember saying like, "This is the idea. we create a recovery band that's geared towards helping people get out of the lifestyle that we all know. Because not only me, also as well, but Lily, so the bass player, as well as in recovery. So we kind of came from that cut of being like, maybe take what we have and push it as far as we can. And then we met this guy, and he was a lifesaver. I mean, for I gotta say, at least years, almost. He kept saying, "Teach me the drums, teach me the drums," because he sings. He doesn't even play drums.
Yeah, I don't even consider myself a drum player to this day.
When I,
See, he didn't even say it right. He
you
said
on
drum
drums at
player.
that show, I was like, I'm not used to
Who
this.
says that?
So I was like, you know what, James? You don't want to teach me? That's fine. In a year from now, when you don't have a drummer, hit me up. And then a year later, you hit me up. So we could have been doing this a year early.
And what's funny is by day 3, he was a better drummer than me. I stepped into it thinking like, oh, I'm going to have to fucking teach this schmuck how to play drums. And it's going to be a whole, like, who knows how long. And then by day 3, he's like, look what I can do. I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? So it actually completely worked out because he was trying to sell me on this idea of, let me play drums. I'll do it, you know? And he's been the most reliable, consistent person who has really stepped up to do it once the original drummer, it fell off. No bad feelings, actually. The original drummer, like I said, was a staff member of Dynamite Youth Center. And he basically, once COVID happened, he ended up moving out of New York.
Okay.
So we were kind of idle for a while. But yeah, then he stepped up to the plate and really fit that role where I think he actually helped make the image of the band. He helped fill all the spots and the gaps that I needed from someone to fill. Because I have him there playing the drums, but while he's playing the drums, I have him singing, I have him doing ad-libs, I have him rapping with me, I have him doing everything when, because also, like you said, he doesn't think of himself as a drummer. So when you get a guy who has never learned this instrument before, and he's playing a beat, and then you're like, that's cool. Now I want you to sing on top of that. Oh, that's cool too. Now I want you to rap on top of that, and then go to the singing part.
I do think the backup vocals, like I saw you guys live at Nostalgia a couple of weeks ago. I think the backup vocals really filling the sound.
Thank you.
Nicely,
Every time he adds a vocal, I'm always like, all right, dude. Like, I'm already doing this, but I guess I'll sing. You know what I mean? It's always
fun, right?
When it's always like, I'm never going to be able to do this. And then I just keep doing it.
So it seems like both in music and in life in general, there's a lot of labels that get thrown around. We get labeled as shit. And I see you guys really defining that. So you want to talk about that? I think both in the music and both in the recovery journey, it seems like you guys are not getting bogged down in that. But I want to hear your perspective on that.
With a lot of that stuff, so there's 2 EPs we have released right now, which is Minor Setback and Major Comeback. And I thought it was kind of funny because I was looking at the songs, and Minor Setback, that entire EP, I think was written while I was still getting high and in my mix of my addiction. And Major Comeback, actually, I think all the songs were written once I was recovered. Once I dipped my toes into that. So if you look into some of the songs, there's a nuanced lyrical whatever about recovery. But I guess a lot of it was, and this is my point always doing this, and even when Vinny joined the band, this was the idea, is that we're more than just a band. You were saying labels. It's like what I'm trying to do and what I wanted him to get on board with. And that's why in the beginning of like, let me play drums, it was like, you're not just playing drums, though. There's a lot into this. This is a thing I'm trying to do to change people's lives. It's far more than just your band that goes and plays shows. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we'll get messages from people in recovery online, and they'll say, hey, I just want to let you guys know, I'm 6 months clean. And like that is what I did this for. That was the motivation to get to, was that. And on top of it, we're big advocates of the program Dynamite Youth Center. So at any of the shows, we donate a portion of the money towards Dynamite Youth Center at the end of the year to try to help people. So that's why a lot with the labels of, oh, you play in a band. It's like, sure, yes, we play in a band, we do music, we're like a monkey, we sing and dance. But there's a lot more behind that, really. So even with Vinny getting into there, it was more like, this isn't just like a let me play drums. This is like I'm trying to do something here, and I need everyone to be on board with the mission statement. You know, because we're not just playing shows so we can fucking sing and dance. We're playing shows to try to reach.
You live it. You don't just talk about it.
To help people. We really want to just help people. That was my main.
That guy from Applebee's. That's the whole reason we do it. That was like the guy from Applebee's. I don't even know why he did it, but he just had this feeling.
So he was talking about stuff and making jokes, and I just, I was feeling him out, and then kind of just were bullshitting, and he said, "Oh, actually, I'm in recovery," and I was like, "That's funny." Because we're a recovery band, because I normally don't hit that right away, but he was like, "Oh, dude, that's awesome." So we ended up just saying, come to our show. And it was actually, he was opening up to me. He said, that's the first time in his recovery that he went to a bar and was in a social setting like that.
Wow.
Where he's getting out of his comfort zone. And he's like, I really did it because you guys told me what the whole point of the band was and everything. But right there, that's what the band was for.
You helped him redefine his own idea of who he was.
Yeah, because also when you're in recovery, beautiful. You start off, like I remember going in that place, and I remember sitting there and watching the staff members go around, and I remember thinking, like, how are these people happy right now? You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that these people are not getting high and this happy. And I remember just thinking, like, that's such bullshit. I never thought... So, one, I never thought I would be this clean. Two, I never thought that I would be the advocate for helping other people get clean,
That's because day one, you're like, well, this sucks.
Yeah, day one in there, you're like, geez, this fucking blows. But it's funny because, you being able to take, I guess, whatever, because we've all been affected by drugs in some way. Whether we know someone, we ourselves were affected, or just we know people that passed away. I mean, it's kind of like a thing that doesn't see, color, creed, whatever you want to say. It bypasses any of society's structures, and it's something I feel like a lot of people could get behind, and it's just, I don't know. I guess that was the point of trying to bring people into this. I don't want to say movement because it sounds fucking lame, but like we're trying to do something here, and that's all I got. I don't know.
I think your friend from Applebee's, for him just getting clean and getting out of whatever addiction he was dealing with, for him to go to a bar, that must be fucking scary, but he felt comfortable to come because of you guys. So that's right there. He was able to go out and have a good time and not mess up his sobriety, right?
Yeah.
Not to give
in a fucking bar. Like I was at the show drinking, like I was at that same show and there were people there drinking and doing whatever else they were doing, but you guys were still able to do your thing and get the message out, and that's fucking awesome. I'm gonna pivot off something you just said. You talked about, people have lost their lives. There's a song I want to bring up. Tell me about Having Gained an Angel.
Okay, so Having Gained an Angel.
On the first EP, right?
Yes, it's on Minor Setback. And that was written about a good friend of mine, Sean Keisher, who, like many of the people we all know, have used drugs and ended up one night, it was too much or whatever you want to say. And he ended up losing his life. And it really it's an interesting song because there's a lot I say in it to like, as if I'm talking to him, But, and I mentioned an Iron and Wine song called The Trapeze Swinger in the lyrics, which is a song that I remember him mocking and singing. And so, that was a song, like I said, also written in my addiction. That was actually, the lyrics were like really about something. I think it was like one of the songs I actually wrote where I'm like sitting here writing lyrics for. But getting high is great until it's not, and it becomes really bad. And it's kind of it's weird because Sean Keisher also was one of the first people. Whenever I played a show, I think the first show I ever played was like down in the basement of Webster Hall in the city, and I remember he snuck like in the back there, and he was like, "Yo," you know. And what's funny, actually, another thing about this, the skateboarder logo. I don't know if you have the bag with you or something, but the logo for the band is actually Sean Keisher's gravesite. So that
no way.
so that actually was taken from his tombstone and reimagined by Lily, who was the bass player, who did the graphic design for it. And that actually is I don't know if you say homage, but that is for like to Sean Keisher, really. And I remember my mother showed me his tombstone when I was upstate in Dynamite Youth Center. And I remember I got emotional, and she was like, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't have showed you this." And I literally said, "No, I'm emotional because like that's the image of the band. Like that's what I'm working to do to try to help save people's lives, like that." And that literally then became the logo for the band. Yeah.
So I bring up that song because what we try to do in the verse is draw connections between the different artists we're talking to. I'm trying to get. I've said it 1,000 times before. I said it in every episode. I'm trying to get the artists in our scene involved creatively, collaboratively, and I try to draw connections. That's what this is all about. Having gained an angel about your friend Sean, who lost his life to addiction. I know I knew I didn't know him well, but I knew of him, and I know he's from Lindenhurst, just like we all are. I have a song on one of my Ghost City Limits albums. It's called "Oh, the Dreams They Shatter," and it's about Eddie Smith, who, a great friend of mine from Lindenhurst, who also lost his life to addiction. So right there, we're linked up on that. I know exactly why, what you're talking about, and why. From my perspective, that's that song that I sent it to you guys. I don't know if you listened to it, but that's what I'm talking about there.
It's the the idea I'm saying that it's like addiction knows no color, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember
we all know somebody.
Yeah, we've been affected in some way or in some shape or form. And it's it's something that I see it sometimes driving. I know Jelly Roll has said it, the artist, but he's made a statement, and he said that fentanyl is killing an entire generation. And we kind of look at the numbers, and it seems so. So it's almost like one of these things where I guess parents or whatever, they look, to say, not my kid. Not my kid. Definitely not my kid. My mother was like that, definitely. Nah, not my kid. And the next thing you know, your kid's hanging out with junkies, drug dealers and trap houses, stealing, robbing money, and you think, maybe that is my kid.
Most parents are like that. I feel like most parents, they're just blinded by love,
Yeah, right? Because they kind of think, not my child. I remember my mother went to the Dynamite Youth Center meetings. They used to have like family meetings. And I remember she called up or something and be like, "Oh, how's my son doing?" And they're like, "Ma'am, he's doing good." She's like, "I know, but he's in the place with a bunch of drug addicts." And they said, "Ma'am, your son is a drug addict." She's like,
he's fitting in.
That was like the first time she said she got hit with reality, like, oh, geez, maybe he is. You know what I mean? So a lot of times, like, yeah, you think, or you think, the kid that you look at in high school that you're like, oh yeah, so-and-so's got it all put together. He's good. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, he's slamming lines of heroin in the back. And you're like, what? How the hell did it go from this to that? And sometimes we don't associate it because we think of, okay, a heroin addict looks like this. A crack addict looks like this. And half the time,
label thing.
It's a label thing.
Most people, if not the majority, I'll say, will view an addict as you're just a bad person. But most addicts are, I would say, good people who made one bad decision. And that just...
Or maybe a series.
That, started...
No, I only made one bad decision ever. In my life in recovery, having an addiction.
No, I remember graduating from Lindy and just hearing like every fucking month about another 16 or 17-year-old kid dying.
There was like a couple of years span.
I remember I knew some of them. I'm like, that was like a good. They were a good kid. Like they were athletes and they were like involved in the show. Like, they were involved in stuff. I remember like playing sports.
Right.
People I knew running track, and I'm like, it's just a nightmare because like you said, you don't look at that person and think, oh, that's a drug addict. No, like this is a dude who I ran track with, or my ex-girlfriend like was on the swim team with. Like these were are good people who just fell into this nightmare, this sickness, you know, and it's. I remember how bad it was for a while in Lindenhurst, like how much you were hearing. I keep mentioning Lindenhurst because we all grew up there, and you know there's stories like this in every school.
I think two questions that I think would be important to ask is one, what does your mom think of you now and what you've accomplished? You know, to have that moment of realization of what you were going through, and I'm sure there's been epiphanies now about what you've done after.
She's very proud. I used to always say, you know, I was a bad person, now I'm a good person. You know what I mean? Like, and she used to always say, nah, you were always a good person. You just got caught up in the wrong stuff, you know? But no, she's very proud, you know. To see also that I took sort of my own journey and embodied it into something, you know? Because I was very serious. Once I got into recovery, I was very, very serious about it. So when you go into a program, you got all these people sitting around the table, you know, half of them think of it as a joke, you know what I mean? Half of them are there for a tolerance break. They want to, you know, get their parents off their back, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, I'll go away for a little bit, you know, just like get my tolerance back and then I'll go out and get high again and all that. And there was a point in my recovery where I took it very serious. And the original drummer of the band, Matthew Rinaldi, he used to run seminars at Dynamite. And he had one that he said, why do we not think this is life or death? And his point to that was, why is it that when you're in recovery, it's what you say, recovery is a verb. Why is it that at points in recovery we get good and then it stops being life or death for us? And I was kind of that person that stepped right on the gas. Once I was like, okay, I'm going to get clean. I'm going to change my life. Once I made that decision, it kind of was just, I took it super serious. And my mother obviously saw that and everything. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, I made her real proud, right, Mom? Yeah.
Would you say you had a minor setback and a major
comeback?
What's funny? It is very funny because that's exactly it. That I didn't even name those albums that way. Actually, shout out to Ray Smooth, Ray Smooth, my uncle. I like went to some program, whatever, over here, and some guy was like, "Don't worry, man, it's just a minor setback for a major comeback."
Oh, shit.
And I was like, "Yo, you just named my first EPs." And he was like, ha, okay, you know, get out of here. I was like, young, you know? But then I said it to my uncle, and I said, oh, yeah, like, I think I'm going to call them a minor setback for a major comeback. And he was like, Jim, why don't you just call it minor setback, major comeback? And I was like, they call you Ray Smooth for a reason.
That's right.
I always liked that. I remember when you first told me about the second EP, I was like, that's fucking bad.
Yeah, because and what's funny is I didn't realize it until like years later. I'm like, oh, minor setback, like the tone of it is slightly different. Major comeback is a little more punky. But with minor setback, like I said, all those songs were written while I was in the mix of my addiction. Major comeback were all the songs I wrote when I was like recovered, you know. So.
I want to ask about I asked you about one on the first EP. I'll ask you about Angela's Ashes on Major Comeback.
Crazy backstory.
Crazy backstory. So while I was in that program, there was a guy we were playing guitar with, and we kind of had that song. I wrote the riffs and everything, but he had like a whole melody to it and stuff like that. And it actually was that he was going to be the original, like one of the guitar players in the band. And things he went his own way, did his own music and whatnot. And I had to like rewrite all the melodies and lyrics to that song. So I did that, but I kept the name because he used to call it Angela's Ashes. And the backstory of that is like nothing. A lot of the lyrics for the songs, I just do them. You know what I mean? I just do them. Like I kind of like Vinny just sits there with a bat and he's like, all right, come up with something. And I gotta like come up with something, a line on the spot and commit to it, or else he's gonna hit me.
The style that we kind of both have when it came to just vocals, and it was mine, and I didn't know he had that similar style. As when we're writing new stuff, it's all just gibberish at first. Like when I hit you, I was like, with that one song that you like, and I'm like, boo boo, right? I'm just doing random gibberish, and then it's like we plug in syllables, and we kind of like say like, I feel like what my subconscious is kind of coming out, because like I come up, if he's coming up with something, or if I'm coming up with something, I've noticed we both like the melody's there, then like it's almost like the scat, that like that jazz, like zigga bop bop, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That gets put into the melodies, and then we're like, I feel like when I listen to the gibberish, I'm hearing these words, and then we kind of cultivate from there. That's kind of how. That's with the new song.
Before we wrap things up, I just want to ask about Love Beyond the Age of Ashes. That's not on either of the APs, right?
No, it's a single we released where I'm actually playing the drums to the best of my ability. And it's a different style. It's a different sound. It has Lily, the bass player, singing on it. And it's a different sound. It sounds, I don't know, not punk at all.
It sounds almost like, I don't know if this is a bad word to you guys, but emo.
Oh God!
That's what it sounds like.
Oh my God!
I think that's awesome. But
No, I think
sadness.
it's good. Yeah.
There's something beautiful about it.
Is that song about anything? Anything you want to say about that one?
Again, it's one of those things I don't like. Maybe if I looked into it and I looked at what I'm saying and tried to like take things out of it, like find a meaning in there, then maybe I could.
Give the people a mission, man. Tell them to go listen to it. Find their meaning.
Go listen to it.
Decide what's about.
Go listen to it and comment. This sucks. Play the punk stuff because that's what we want to play more. But really, what it was is I felt like we were very idle because we didn't have a drummer at the time.
The Dark Ages.
Yeah, we didn't. So it was very idle. He's over here. Teach me to play drums. I'm like,
They're like, nah.
All right. And he's like, all right. Next year we don't have one. I'll play. So that was like a release that I just felt like there's nothing out there for like 2-3 years. I like this song, so let me just put it out, even though it doesn't fit. That's why I released it as a single, because it just doesn't fit. If anyone actually does go and look at it, it's Love Beyond the Age of Ashes by Oceanside, and it's if you see the picture, that's actually something that Lily, the bass player, did the graphic work on.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So she does some of the artwork too?
Yeah. Like she actually worked with me to create that logo for the band. Yeah, to really take that image on that tombstone and just slightly alter it to make it ours.
What does the future hold for Oceanside? What's next?
I think what's next for Oceanside is just to really get out there, play shows, help people. Like I said, there's people online that will message us, hey, I have 6 months clean, I have 8 months clean. And like we keep up to date with them too. So awesome. That's what's next for Oceanside is really hopefully just to alter and help someone. Get someone out of their life.
Sound too. With the new album, it's kind of like
if you could call it a new sound.
I think it's
I was gonna ask, is there another EP?
It's like an evolution of the sound that they had, because I feel like now that I'm in it, I'm coming in and we have everything I learned, but this new stuff we're working on, if you put them side by side, like there's an evolution of it.
Yeah.
And I like it. It's almost like it's like kind of more harping on more of like rock, not really so much punk, but we're bringing because James comes from that rap metal background.
Sure.
So he's bringing that rap vocal to the clean and.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of rappy stuff. It's like rappy, but more rock based.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. We haven't worked on it yet, but that's the goal.
That's the vision.
Yeah, that's the next thing as well.
That's what's brewing.
Yeah.
Any shows in July you might want to talk about?
Oh, great!
I'm so happy you asked.
Very good point.
I'm so happy you asked.
So we're playing Moon Groove Records Festival.
We got Shakers coming up. That's
also
June 27th.
June 27th?
Yeah, we'll be out in Staten Island too. We're also playing in Staten Island June 14th. So we just have shows. I'm telling you, the next thing is we just want to reach people.
Mm-hmm.
That's really it. Reach people, make a difference in their lives. That's all.
Alrighty.
So keep tuning into the verse. Follow Moon Groove Records, MGR Fest, Oceanside. Until next time, guys. Thanks a lot for coming out.
Thanks for having us, man.
That was actually really good.